and welcome. My name is Byron Gonzalez. You're here on Latin Alt Radio. Thank you for tuning in. You can hear me on the station at latinalt.org every weekday, 9 a.m. through 1 p.m. And today I have the great privilege of talking to Marinero, who just released a brand new album called Hella Love.
Right on, Byron. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Hey, thank you for being here. But yeah, let's talk about your brand new album, Hella Love. First of all, that just goes to show that you are from San Francisco. Hella Love, Hella, the word
Hmm.
is all about SF, the Bay Area. But tell me a little bit about like the story behind Marina or the Hella Love, the album. Like what led to its inception?
Well, I started working on a record right after the last one I made called Tropico de Cancer, and I recorded that in Mexico, and then I just started working like right away, and we did a little bit of a few tours. It wasn't that much, but I kind of I kind of dove in to just like working on another album pretty quickly, and around that time like I was thinking about moving out of the Bay Area for actually a few years even before that, but it occurred to me that that would be a really strong theme, to kind of focus on the Bay Area, and so I had like a generalized idea. Like I think I named the record immediately. Like I like the idea of Hella Love, and then I just wrote music that I felt like would kind of accompany that sentiment of like taking influences of like Beach Boys, like Smile, or like a simple phrase or simple positive idea with like a colloquialism like hella from the north.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like trying to hyper focus on my my community, my family, my history, how I ended up there, and some history in the city too. And so um yeah, that was kind of like it was kind of like a way of leaving home, and a way of like leaving everyone you knew with a warm embrace.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful album. Like listening to the lyrics, it's an album dedicated to your city. Did you, when writing the songs to this, did you visit a lot of places? Were you like in certain locations with your notepad or your memo on your phone, just writing down lyrics, or how did that come about?
For the most part, yes. Like there were, that's a good point. Yeah, there were general sketches of that record and broad strokes of like what the songs were going to be like about earlier on. But once I got more focused in on certain things, like a friend of mine, we went out to go to Alcatraz, took some notes, we went out to, but it's also close, so it wasn't like
Yeah.
it wasn't a huge endeavor, but there were certain things that I would just like write about, like even the song Beyond the Rainbow Tunnel. Like I remember I was struggling with lyrics, and I actually just like drove out to like Mount Tan, and some things kind of clicked for me in terms of themes. And then like I live in the outer Richmond, which was kind of like a song about Outerlands, so
Uh,
it was easy for me to kind of like pull it from memory, or from where I lived, or things that were in my routine. But there were a few times where I like physically would go to a certain place to feel a certain sentiment or to kind of get inspired by something, and it worked. Like I only did it several times on the record, but it definitely helped.
yeah, it definitely sounds like it. I feel like you painted a picture with music and words. You're an author. This is your book. And that's how I
Wow,
feel like
man.
this album is.
That's awesome to hear. Like to me, like it makes sense, and it's like the fact that you can listen to something and get a sense of the story, like in the narrative and the pictures and everything is, I didn't sign up to play music, to be an author. I was like just wanting to make noises, but it's like because you sing, because you play guitar, because you write songs, you have to learn how to do these things, and so I appreciate that. I'm still trying to learn how to do it. It's all a craft, and you try, some things work, some things don't, but I'm so happy that you get that story, or you follow along with it and
Well,
you feel it.
as I think as an artist, that's what you try to do. You try to place people in different areas of the world. You're from the Bay Area, so that's where you grew up. That's where your heart is, and you're like, let me show you where I am via music. You can't. You're not a vlogger. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? You're not a
that's
TV
true.
personality. You're like, let me show you the way I know how with a guitar and my lyrics.
That's true. That's true. it's one of those things that yeah, it's like um you wonder if other people outside the Bay Area and outside this world can like relate to it quite as much. And like I tried to write things, you know, in an accessible enough way. But if you get really deep with it, if you like read the lyrics, like there's some Easter eggs in there for sure. Like
Yeah, for anybody who's visited or is from the Bay Area, I'm sure.
definitely.
Let's take a pause right now. I want to hear a song. I know you prepared a couple songs for us. So, what is the first song we're going to listen to tonight?
So I thought I'd start us off kind of chronologically with the record, and because you have this beautiful fog, I don't know if the listeners can see, but he has got a beautiful background of the bay with the fog, some of it, and so we'll start with Through the Fog.
Yeah, we're in a Zoom interview right now and getting it ready for radio play. Yeah, it's San
Mm-hmm.
Francisco Golden Gate Bridge behind me.
Song feels the bay like a blanket of gray and sun poncho. The Golden Gate waves through a silvery haze to remind you. In a fog, it's hard to see things clearly. But look how far you've come along, my love. So will you fear you can't look in the mirror without smoke? Hide, don't it blaze at high noon on Tuesdays to remind you? Even though we know this world is ending, but don't you fear we'll get through this, my dear. And we won't have to get through this alone. It'll pass, this will clear. It'll pass, don't you fear. And we won't have to get through this alone. It'll pass, this will clear. It'll pass, don't you fear. Ba, ba, ba. Boo, ba, boo. In a fog, it's hard to see things clearly. But look how far you've come along, my love.
What's
Tell me a
up?
little bit about this song. It's very direct, I guess. You know, it's Through the Fog, and San Francisco is
Mm-hmm.
known about fog. But what's the
Yeah.
story behind it?
Well, it was I was lucky to like figure out the chords, you know, first of all, and the melody, and in doing so, like um, you know, you have to figure out an idea of a song, and I wrote it in the outer Richmond, which is like a foggy area. It's notoriously cold. The feeling of the song to me kind of evoked that in a way, like the chord progression, and it's a little bit dark, um, a little bit minor, and then there's parts of it that kind of like peak out with like this major feeling through it. And so I wanted to kind of like use SF as a metaphor, and it's the opening song, so I wanted to like establish that the song and this whole experience is going to be about SF. So I used the fog as a metaphor for kind of like getting through a tough time, you know, like,
Yeah.
and anyone can relate, whether it's a, someone that annoys you at work, or like, hard-headed, you know, fight with, with a family member, or a breakup, or like, where it's anything really, insecurities, drug addiction, alcohol, any of those things. I just tried to like use the fog as a metaphor. The idea is like getting through these tough times. You don't have to get through this alone. And so like that's kind of I guess the theme of the record. I wanted to kind of like insert like um other things through SF as a metaphor.
Yeah, I mean, that's beautiful. I mean, with love, I think that's the ultimate theme, that love gets you through anything. A lot of
Yeah, it
heavy love
was
of it.
totally. It was funny too, because like um I'd written these songs before the pandemic, and then when I like was finishing them, there were certain themes within the record that I was like, wow, this is actually really perfect for right now. And there's even a line where I say like, we know it's the end of the world,
Yeah, I
and
remember
or
that line.
something
I
like
was like,
that. And
did he write this during the pandemic? But it
before,
also it always feels like it's gonna be the end of the world no matter what's going on, you know?
true. And but even if it's just a personal, like, not even on a smaller scale, like not even a bigger scale, like even if it's like a breakup or whatever, sometimes it feels like the end of the world for us, you know what I mean? So either way, it was just kind of like a play on either or.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I mean, this is like the first track, but there is a track before that, which is
Yeah,
Fanfare, and it like takes me to medieval times. It
that's
reminds me of
cool.
medieval times, but also there's like so many sounds and influences that I hear. Another sound that I hear is like a little bit of bossa nova. But
Yeah.
what other sounds am I hearing? What other influences did you pick up on for this?
There was so much, man. And so like, yeah, there's like this baroque, I guess, like intro with
Oh,
fanfare.
is that what it's called?
I,
Baroque.
I mean, it's me like pretending, me as like a West Coast like fool, like trying to write like classical music, you know what I mean? And so there's
Right.
this kind of medieval baroque feeling, and I've heard other friends refer to it as medieval as well, but and I don't know where it comes from, but I just like yeah, there's like this little classical element that I try to interweave in it, like my version of classical music, and then there's bossa nova in the first song, Through the Fog, and by the second song it's me trying to do like Los Terrícolas, like sort of like grupero, like romanticas, like from the 70s, like
Yeah.
organ heavy like ballads, and Nuestra Victoria is kind of like has that sort of vibe in my opinion. And then there's some Carole King, there's some Burt Bacharach, there's some disco,
Yeah,
but
you
there's like a
ended with
lot on this
disco.
record.
You
Yeah,
ended
there's
with
a lot.
disco.
But I think I was listening to a lot of Ennio Morricone, and as well, who's like this film, he's famous Italian film composer, and he was just someone who I was listening to a lot. And when I was driving back from LA to SF, I would listen to him because he's great for like these long drives. But I got really into Ennio Morricone, and I feel like he was a huge influence on this record in many ways. So I tried to like tribute some things I was listening to him, and he had passed away when I was done kind of finishing with the record, which it was just like
Wow.
a weird
Yeah,
coincidence too.
super
But
weird.
yeah, but yeah, a lot of Ennio Morricone, a lot of different things. But like I wanted to take the listener who had maybe been used to some of my music on the past record, and yeah, I was doing some like samba and bossa nova stuff on the last record, or experimenting. And I wanted to kind of like lead the listener in and then take the listener to like a different place. So there's a couple other songs that are a little bit more psychedelic than the last record, and there's a
Yeah.
song that has a little bit more of a soul feel. Um, but yeah, just trying to move it in different directions too. And then, like I said, with the disco song, you might not even see it coming. Like I wanted it to feel so far away from where it started, and I kind of wanted to leave the listener feeling like where is this fool gonna go next?
Right. You're like, is he that's the disco one definitely surprised me, but it was a good surprise.
Cool.
Let's take another pause right now. What is the second song you're gonna have for us right now?
The second song is called Luz Del Faro, and it's like um it's definitely a tribute to Trio Los Panchos and like that era of like boleros from like the 40s, 50s, and then it turns into like a sort of like me trying to tribute like again like Los Pericolas and stuff like that. But you're gonna hear an acoustic version of that.
Cool. Let's take a listen from his newly released album, Hella Love. This is Luz De Faro from Marinero.
Un perdido marinero, su barco en la tormenta y una oración a la vela, y ella es un rayo de luz, Elena reina del faro, lo ha salvado, y el brillo de tu oro, mi querido tapatío, yo veo tu rayo de luz, dame la fuerza para amar a les que me lastimaron. Luz, you set me free. Without your love, where would I be? Un perdido marinero, su barco en la tormenta y una oración a la vela, y ella es un rayo de luz, Elena reina del faro, lo ha salvado. You pick me up when I'm down, so down. You lift me up from the ground, and I found you pick me up from the ground, and I would do the same for you.
mixed a lot of bilingual lyrics in this. Is it easier for you to write in Spanish or in English, or is it kind of like the same throughout?
It's definitely harder to write in Spanish just because I just grew up speaking English, and my mom speaks Spanish, but she's pocha, and like so it was something that like we speak Spanglish, you know. But and it's something that has gotten better over time, and spending more time in Mexico and having more projects based out of Mexico and traveling and such. But it's definitely harder to write in Spanish, but it's definitely gotten easier over time, and I'm happy that I'm pushing myself through that, and I'll probably continue to do that, and I'll probably try to write more in Spanish maybe for the next record. You know, it's definitely something that I've been pushing myself to do. But um yeah,
And I think
but they're both.
that's a great thing because you gotta highlight your heritage. A lot of people, I mean, even your Instagram handle says Maringuero, which
Yeah.
to a lot of Hispanics, a lot of Latinos, that means you're white.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So we,
Definitely.
as the audience, I guess we don't know if you're, you know, we just assume you're white, you're a güero. But
Mhm.
after hearing you sing in Spanish, you're like, okay, he's of Latin heritage.
Yeah, it's one of those things that being like I'm having a mother who's tapatia and like already light skinned, you know. um and then I look like I used to tell people that I was like café con leche because I was like,
Yeah,
my dad's white and my mom's Mexican, but I'm more like a latte, you know, like because I'm so light skinned, you know. But yeah, I feel like luckily from being a musician and playing in different bands, like even based out of Mexico, and having my own experiences in Mexico or growing up listening to certain music from our heritage, like it's definitely a cool outlet to experiment with and try to like do something that's like not taking tradition in certain ways, but doing something different with it. And so I'm privileged to like be able to do that. And like um it's so fun to be like to be pushing like a certain genre or different types of genre. And I feel like it's not a responsibility, but it's just like I feel proud to be like singing in Spanish, you know, like and having people relate or be people that can like connect with what I'm doing either in English and in Spanish. But I think it's also cool to do both because we just have a different experience on the West Coast. You know, it's like,
exactly.
you know, like we're this, it's just the way we live out here. You know what I mean? It's like even if you think about it, like with people talk about the United States and their forefathers are like from England, and like maybe on the East Coast you feel that influence more, but out here we're like it's Spanish. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
it's all
the streets, the
Mexico.
cities, it's all Mexico. It was Mexico. It is Mexico, you know, like so it's like um and to represent it through like, you know, English and in Spanish, being a pocho, like I'm proud of like the identity of being in both places, you know.
Yeah, and then music that reflects that because I know a lot of people our age in, you know, this demographic, we have it's like I have Spanish speaking parents and we picked up a little bit of Spanish. I knew I when I was growing up, I grew up speaking Spanish at home, but
Hmm.
English in school and outside with friends. But now growing up, or now where I am in my life now, like when I hear an artist that sings in English but then does the Spanish songs, I'm like, that's amazing. I can relate. I know what they're saying, you
Hmm.
know. So you're doing a great job with that. And also you're kind of like bringing the Spanish with the new genres, you know, because you hear Spanish music, or at least people think, oh, I'm gonna hear some Spanish music. It's gonna be like traditional Mexican
Norteños or
music.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you're kind of bringing it with a new flavor, with a new renowned air to it.
I appreciate that, man, because like I think we're good. Like we're good. Musicians are sometimes good at tradition and like playing to a tradition, and like I don't know. I've just felt like it's cool to like break those traditions because you and I grew up sort of like in the '90s. We listened to like,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
like all sorts of different stuff. So it's like it's cool to mix it with like our weirdo, like outsider
Yeah, exactly.
mentality too. You know,
And
so.
making it part of the mainstream now.
Yeah, trying to, yeah, or
Yeah.
like, yeah, just like dipping our toe in the mainstream for now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And for those artists, you know, Here on 88.5 in regular rotation is Sofia Valdez, who is Panamanian. She does an entire song in English, but there is a little bit of Spanish in there. So you're like throwing in something different for
A little
the
bit of
English
Spanglish.
speaking. Yeah, yeah. And very subtle, where they're like, wait, what
Cool.
just happened? You know,
That's cool.
this isn't normal in regular radio.
That's dope.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Let's take the last pause of the interview. Let's get into the last song. What are you going to be ending it off with?
I'm gonna end it with a song called Outerlands, which is about sort of like the area where I lived, which is the outer Richmond, in San Francisco, kind of close to Ocean Beach.
I knew I should get out. I'm out of excuses and reasons to stay inside. The park is a calling my name, and so is the ocean. It's so close. You're just the same. You make it so hard to leave. You make it so hard to leave. Hey, outside of your shut-in, this gray is so comforting. You're so close. Just go outside, far out where the sun sets. Out west, I found my own home here. The Richmond, a second time. She make it so hard to leave. Make it so hard to leave. If you do go out, I know that you'll change your mind. You make it so hard to leave. Make it so hard to leave. Make it so hard to leave. I hope that you can believe.
Thank you for playing that song. I really appreciate you taking the time to record it. And just for our audience here, it's wonderful to hear it in acoustic in a different way, you know, not with so much production. I still like the production side of it, but it's always great to hear it in a new version. Thank you for that.
How to do it.
Right now, I do want to end the show with getting to know you a little bit more. So I got some
Sure.
personal questions. I hope you're ready. They're difficult.
I'll try
uh,
my best.
yeah, yeah. What was an album when you were growing up that you could not stop listening to?
Oh wow. I mean, there's so many, but like if I got real nerdy and if I was when I was young, when I first started getting into music, I couldn't stop listening to the Blue Album by Weezer.
Oh, really? That one
Yeah,
was
there's
hit home for you.
that one hit home because like I was really into the Beach Boys as a kid, and or around that time anyway, like I was starting to get into music. But that record, like the songwriting's really good. And I can't say like I feel that way about their entire all their albums, but at least two of their records I really love. And that kind of like fake classical thing that I do, and like fanfare and like even minuet for the mission and all these different parts of the album, I kind of have like a little fake classical side of me, I guess, that I try to insert. But I feel like Rivers Cuomo as a songwriter like really hit a chord in me where I felt like he has sort of like a classical element. Like even B-sides, if you listen to a song called Michael and Carly off the
Uh-huh.
Blue Album, if you listen to the melody, it's like you could hear like a string quartet like playing it, you know what I mean? It's like really old.
You gotta listen
um
carefully.
yeah, there's definitely a lot of classical elements in his melody that I feel.
Cool. Cool. I gotta check that out. Gotta revisit that
The
in a
Blue
new
Album,
light.
yeah, you'll
Yeah.
feel good. You'll feel like you're 12 years old all over again.
Awesome. What was one of the first concerts you ever attended?
Oh wow, one of the first concerts I ever attended was it was in the, I feel like the mid 90s, and it was a band called Link 80. Sorry, it was a band, a ska band, a ska punk band, that was on the label called Asian Man Records, which
Oh,
was
okay.
run by, yeah, Skink and
Mike Park.
Pickle,
Yeah.
Mike Park, yeah, exactly. And he had this band Link 80, which was like Daniel Steele, who's like a famous author. Her like son sang in that band,
Oh, wow.
and that was the first show I ever saw. And it was like with that band and dude, I think it was also MU330, which is another Asian
Yeah, I
Man
remember.
Records band.
Yeah.
And it was who else? I think it was a band that was local that a kid that lived down the street from me played in. And it was just like insane to see like a band that you liked, and also a band that you knew. You know what I mean? So if you see your friends like performing live, it did something where it made it doable. You know, I was just like, whoa, like I want to do this. And like within a year, I had my own band.
There you go. Damn, that's cool.
Hmm.
And funny enough that it's ska, and then you're like totally away from that now.
Yeah. 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 It's like, it's one of those things that it was definitely like a short phase, like in general, you know,
Well,
it was like
yeah.
so weird how it came and went. Like maybe, I think more so down here, out here, you get more bands that have been doing that and still do it today. But in the Bay, like, I mean, we had like Operation Ivy, we had like Rancid who were doing some ska punk stuff, but like, yeah, it was one of those things that just like died right away. But I don't know, it's funny. Like, I wonder if there'll be a revival of that, you know? Like, I still love like Two Tone.
Right. Yeah, it's like reggae with a little more upbeat stuff.
Yeah, it's so good. The musicians are so good. Like, if you watch like old videos or YouTube of like the specials, like in their heyday, they have the craziest amount of energy, and
Yeah,
their
for
songs
real.
are so good. You
For
know,
real.
I saw the specials like 2 years ago, and they had so many tracks, like so many good songs. Like, and I forget like how many good songs that they actually had. You know, they're good songwriters.
A lot of
But
them.
yeah, people just hate on ska hella easily too. You know, it's a weird thing.
Yeah, they can't
But
handle the trumpets and the trombones is
yeah,
why.
yeah. And now I'm basically turning into a ska band because I have so many like horns and stuff. You know,
Right, right. You just gotta do the upstroke on your guitar now. Just
definitely
do like a ska
easy.
version of your album.
Outerlands,
Hella
yeah.
ska.
I'm into it. I'm so down.
Yeah, like a experimental. You're the one that
Yeah, get
revives the whole scene.
that'd be no. It'd be like Patchy, like that guy, like right, like he like
Oh, right.
he
He's doing
pretty
the
much
reggae stuff.
he's planting the seeds. Yeah.
Yeah, and now the Latinos are taking over the ska scene.
Yeah, Scott. Yeah, reggae, dub, and Scott. Yeah.
Yep. Next question. What was like one of the first jobs you ever held?
Yo, my first job was at a Chevy's. I don't know if you know the chain,
Uh,
Chevy's Fresh Mex.
no, I've
You ever heard
never.
of it?
I
I
don't think
think they're
so.
maybe a Northern California thing, but it's like a fake Mexican Chili's. Yo, and it's like Tex-Mex, which is like something we don't even really get out here anyway, but
Yeah.
it was like a fake Mexican Tex-Mex chain called Chevy's, and it was like in the late 80s. No, sorry, late 90s.
You're like from the late
I'm
80s.
like 50 years old. No, no, it was like 2000, and it was during the time when the Latin renaissance of like Santana, Smooth with Rob
Okay.
Thomas.
Uh-huh.
You got Mark Anthony had a couple hit albums. You had Ricky Martin. You had Living La Vida Loca. You had Lou Bega. Um, I feel like there's probably more, but it was like, so I worked at a fake Mexican place, and they would play those tracks all the
Oh my
time.
God.
So you just, yeah.
You know what? Now thinking about it, I hear some of those influences in your music.
Definitely, it's in there, especially the
Ricky Martin.
Santana.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the Ricky Martin.
the Smooth for sure. Yeah.
Now talking about food, what is like one of your favorite foods ever?
And man, there's so many. Ceviche. Like for some
Ceviche?
reason, yeah, like or aguachile or something like that. Like camarones or like con salsita, dude. It's like
It's the
con
best
limon,
with a
dude. It's like
tostada.
yeah, dude. It's something so simple, but it's just like so good. Like you're never gonna be like upset about eating that food. You're always gonna be stoked. Like it's kind of like the sleeper, you know.
Yeah, dude. I actually sometimes on a Friday I end my Fridays with either sushi or ceviche and aguachiles.
Right. It's a treat, and it feels naughty a little bit. You're like, how is this healthy? You know?
It is. There's
But
no
it's totally good
rice.
for you.
There's no
Yeah.
rice. There's no
No, it's like
gluten on
no
it.
carbs. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the
That's
perfect
the
snack.
diet. Yeah. If they weren't filled with like mercury and all sorts of crazy stuff, like it would be
Tell me
those.
about it.
I'm just
Plastic.
kidding. I don't want to get
It's the
dark.
truth. It's the sad truth.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
But ceviche for now, like, you know, while I can enjoy it once in a while.
Awesome. Yeah, I love it. I'm gonna have some today. It's Friday.
Hell yeah.
At
Sounds
the
good.
time of this recording, it's Friday, but this is a Wednesday evening right now.
Exactly.
Last question. What is something that you love or you find interesting about the place you were either born or grown up?
About the play, yeah, about the Bay Area. I mean, there were a couple things like I wrote the record about my personal life and family and stuff, but there were also some historic things that I found interesting that a lot of people don't know about. So like the song Isle of Alcatraz.
Yeah, I was gonna say that one.
Yeah,
I
it's
heard some stuff in there. You were like throwing facts here and there.
yeah, like I think the whole end of the song I'm just like throwing details, and I'm just
Yeah.
like it's just about like educating like what happened there. And like there's a little family history like in the 60s, in 1969, like the a bunch of like Native American students or first people or like a bunch of educated like brown folk basically they organized, and they were influenced by Cesar Chavez, they were influenced by MLK, they were influenced by all the Harvey Milk stuff that was going on, and it's like so powerful, like Black Panther stuff, you know, Newton stuff, like all that stuff is so powerful because they were like helping each other, empowering each other, you know, and they were very inclusive. It wasn't like us versus you, you know, it was like everyone was helping each other, and I love that about the the history, you know. But seeing how like they had taken over like the Alcatraz, like they realized that it was technically federal land. They were, I think, allowed federal land from the government, the U.S. government, and they found a loophole where they were like, well, if this is federal land, this is ours, you know. So they took it back, and they were there for over a year. And I just think that's the most like badass like um, thing you could do. Like, and I feel like the city was behind it. Like they were, but it was just a powerful statement because I think that like not to like I'm getting deep here, but like the government had like U.S. government has really split up a lot of indigenous people, and like
Yeah,
they made
it's
them
true.
they made them change their religion. They put them in Catholic schools. They separated these different tribes. So I felt like it was a very empowering like movement and statement for Native Americans to like rise up and organize and realize that their identity and preserving that was of value, you know.
I
So
mean, when all of everything has been taken away from you, you try to hold on to every little bit,
yeah,
and empowers
so
people like to do crazy things, and they're like, I got nothing to lose. Fuck it, you know.
yeah. and it's such a crazy state. Like the place is like really cold. It's like the Alcatraz is like there's no electricity. You know what I mean? Like it's like they were really I don't know much about it, but from what I've read and seen documentaries, like you really gotta you have so much respect for them for doing that. And yeah, so I think that's like a very interesting like fact that I wanted to share on the record, just to
On
like
the
the rest
record.
of the rest of the world, you know.
Yeah, and you did a good job. I was like, oh, and there was like, I never realized. I thought it was just the prison the entire time, but
Yeah,
there was like a whole life there before prison
yeah, people just think
rose
it's
up.
like Sean Connery or yeah, and like
Yeah,
Nicolas Cage, you know, dueling it out, or you know, action movie style. But yeah, there's this crazy history to it. And I think even before, like even like the Miwok or Alonis or who were living here, like the island had its own significance before it was a prison too. So it's like it's kind of cool that they could reclaim something that was already theirs, you know.
yeah, that's really cool. And you paid homage to that and threw out some facts. That's awesome. Well, dude, thank you so much for
Absolutely.
joining me, for taking the time to answer my questions, and for making such a great album. It's slow tempo, but it's definitely one that you can just relax to, drink a little whiskey, or just
Hmm.
read with a book.
Yeah, just lounging, enjoying yourself, feeling the love.
Exactly. Well, thank you, Marinero. I wish you
Of course.
a ton of luck in your future endeavors, and if you're already writing your next album, who knows? You know,
Yeah,
put some
working on it.
disco in there. Hello again, Marinero. Say goodbye to the audience here.
Thanks everybody. I love you all. Thanks for supporting Byron and myself with our radio and music. Much love.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Everybody else, thank you again for tuning in. I'm Byron Gonzalez.